12 straight months of falling visitor numbers. 38.5 million tourists, down more than 7% in a single year. The lowest since the pandemic emptied the Strip. Strip hotel occupancy and daily rates are tumbling. December bookings collapsed nearly 10% even with marquee events. Yet somehow, casinos pulled off a record $8.8 billion in gaming revenue. How does a city lose its crowd and still cash in? And what happens when the illusion breaks? The answers begin with the data Vegas executives would rather you ignore. Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority data leaves little room for spin. In 2025, the city welcomed just 38.5 million visitors, a drop of 7.5% from the year before, erasing nearly every gain since the pandemic. The Strip hasn't seen foot traffic this thin since 2021, when travel was still throttled by health restrictions. Not a single month in 2025 managed a year-over-year increase. Each new LVCVA report brought another negative number, another red bar on the chart. The pattern wasn't subtle. January numbers fell 6.9%. By June, the city was down more than 11% compared to the previous summer. Even October, usually a bright spot buoyed by conventions, slipped 4.4%. Then came December, a month packed with the National Finals Rodeo, Raiders games, and the Las Vegas Bowl. Yet visitation still cratered 9.2% compared to the previous year. 3 million tourists in December sounds impressive, until you remember that the city drew nearly 500,000 more just 12 months earlier. These aren't the kinds of declines that can be explained away by a cold snap or a single cancelled event. Instead, the data points to a grinding, city-wide erosion, a slow bleed rather than a sudden shock. For comparison, the 2008 crash and the 2020 pandemic both hit harder in the short term, but neither produced a 12-month streak of losses like this. In 2019, Las Vegas peaked at 42.5 million visitors. By 2025, that number had fallen by more than 4 million. What does it mean when the entertainment capital of the world can't fill its own rooms, even with a packed calendar? LVCV, a chief executive officer, Steve Hill, tried to reassure, insisting that Las Vegas operates at a scale that few destinations can match, and pointing to steady convention demand. But the monthly headcounts tell a different story, one of empty sidewalks, quiet lobbies, and a city struggling to draw the crowds it once took for granted. How much longer can the Strip keep up appearances when the numbers keep sliding? Strip hotel operators spent 2025 watching their core financial metrics slip month after month. The average daily room rate, which had soared above $200 during the post-pandemic boom, fell nearly 5% to $183.52. Occupancy dropped to 80.3%, down more than 3 percentage points from the year before. Revenue per available room, RevPAR, the industry's most telling indicator, crashed nearly 9% to $163.52. These are not just abstract numbers. For a city built on packed lobbies and sold-out weekends, every percentage point shaved from occupancy means thousands of empty beds and millions in lost revenue. Downtown hotels fared no better. Room rates there tumbled almost 6% and occupancy slipped by 3.5%. Even with aggressive promotions and last-minute deals, operators struggled to fill rooms. December, usually a reliable high water mark thanks to rodeo crowds and holiday events, saw RevPAR fall by double digits. How do you explain this kind of drop in a city that once prided itself on never having a slow season? Executives tried to put a positive spin on the situation. MGM CEO Bill Hornbuckle declared, "We are as solid as a rock. I read headlines that Las Vegas is dead. Stop." Boyd Gaming's Keith Smith insisted, "There is no question visitation is down. We tend to make more out of it than it is. But the math tells a different story. The Strip's room rates are still among the highest on record. Yet the gap between price and value keeps widening. For middle-income travelers, the cost of a weekend in Las Vegas now rivals that of a trip to New York or Los Angeles without the cachet or convenience. Is it any wonder that guests are staying home or choosing cheaper alternatives off the strip? Analysts are not buying the official optimism. Truist cut earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization forecasts for major operators through 2027. Goldman Sachs flagged a retreat among middle-income consumers, warning that the city's pricing power may have finally hit its ceiling. Even as executives tout resilience, the numbers suggest a market under real pressure. How long can Las Vegas keep squeezing more from fewer guests before the entire model breaks? Canadian tourists once filled Las Vegas hotel rooms by the thousands. They spent an estimated $3.6 billion in southern Nevada in 2024, and they supported more than 43,000 jobs. In 2025, that pipeline shrank to a trickle. Passenger data from Harry Reid International Airport show Air Canada traffic was down 33%, and WestJet was down 31% in June alone. Flair Airlines, a budget carrier, saw an even steeper plunge, 62% fewer passengers compared to the previous summer. By year's end, the city had lost nearly a quarter of its Canadian visitors, a drop of roughly 350,000 people. International arrivals as a whole fell nearly 10% in June, compounding the losses. For a destination that relies more on foreign tourists than almost any other US city, the damage rippled far beyond the airport gates. Caesars Entertainment reported 27,000 fewer room nights from Canadian guests in the second quarter, a shortfall that cannot be replaced by domestic travelers alone. Las Vegas Mayor Shelley Berkeley described the situation bluntly. "It has gone from a faucet to a drip." The reasons were not limited to airline schedules or exchange rates. Travel agents and hospitality insiders pointed to a mix of political tensions, economic anxiety, and a perception that the US had become less welcoming. The so-called Trump slump, a term used by union leaders and echoed in Canadian media, added a layer of uncertainty, making some prospective visitors think twice about booking that Vegas getaway. While executives continued to point to steady convention numbers and a robust calendar of events, the monthly headcounts told a different story. International softness was just one piece of the puzzle, but it revealed how dependent Las Vegas has become on external demand. What happens when a city built for the world suddenly finds itself out of favor abroad? How much longer can the Strip rely on squeezing more from a shrinking pool of guests before the math stops working? A single bottle of water for $26. Resort fees tacked on at $55 a night. Parking that runs $40 a day, even for hotel guests. These are not urban legends. They are line items on receipts, posted and reposted across Reddit, TikTok, and travel forums. The story spreads the same way every time. A visitor uploads a photo of a bill or a hotel checkout screen. The numbers go viral, and the outrage snowballs. By the summer of 2025, the phrase "Vegas isn't worth it" had become a meme, shorthand for a city that had finally gone too far. The backlash was not limited to online complaints. Goldman Sachs analysts flagged a sharp pullback among middle-income travelers, warning that Las Vegas had hit its pricing ceiling. The numbers bear this out. Room rates on the Strip averaged $183.52 in 2025, down nearly 5% from the year before, but still among the most expensive in the country. Resort fees have climbed to $55 a night, often buried until checkout. Parking, once free and considered part of the Vegas experience, now cost $40 a day at many properties. Add it up, and a basic weekend getaway can rival the cost of a trip to New York or Los Angeles, without the same cultural cachet or convenience. Social media has turned these costs into a public spectacle. Viral clips show travelers tallying up their bills, shaking their heads at $26 bottles of water and $18 cocktails. One widely shared TikTok breaks down a two-night stay. $367 for the room, $110 in resort fees, $80 for parking, $52 in taxes, and $22 for a pair of waters from the minibar. Total, $631 before a single hand is played or a show ticket is bought. The comments are a chorus of disbelief and frustration. Vegas used to be cheap, one user writes. Now it's just a ripoff. This is not just noise. The impact shows up in the numbers that matter most to operators. Strip occupancy fell to 80.3%, down more than 3 points from 2024. Revenue per available room dropped nearly 9% to $163.52. Downtown hotels saw room rates and occupancy tumble as well. Promotions and last-minute deals failed to fill the gap. The value proposition that once made Las Vegas irresistible, cheap rooms, free drinks, and the promise of a winning streak, has been replaced by a sense of being nickel and dimed at every turn. Goldman's warning about the middle-income retreat was not theoretical. It was visible in empty casino floors and quiet lobbies. Truist and Macquarie analysts cut earnings forecast for major operators, citing a market that was finally pushing back. Yet executives stuck to their scripts. "We are as solid as a rock," insisted MGM's Bill Hornbuckle. "There is no question visitation is down. We tend to make more out of it than it is," said Boyd's Keith Smith. "But if the city is so solid, why are the crowds thinning and the frustration growing? How long can Las Vegas keep charging more for less before visitors decide they have had enough? At what point does the viral outrage turn into a permanent exodus? The Strip's gamble on ever higher prices is paying off for now, but the numbers suggest the patience of its most loyal guests is wearing thin." Strip casinos pulled off a feat that seems to defy gravity. In the same year, Las Vegas lost 3.5 million visitors. The Strip's gaming floors raked in a record $8.8 billion, an all-time high, up fractionally from 2024. Statewide, Nevada's gaming revenue hit $15.8 billion, notching its fifth straight record year. The city's lifeblood, it turns out, isn't the sheer number of tourists, but how much each one is willing or forced to lose. Baccarat tables tell the real story. While slot handles softened and penny slots emptied out, high-limit baccarat surged, with table revenue up 3.4% to about $1.4 billion. That's not a fluke. The casinos engineered this outcome. They shifted focus from volume to yield, courting high rollers with private salons and luxury perks, while quietly tightening the screws on everyone else. The hold percentage, the share of money that casinos keep from every dollar wagered, crept upward, especially on table games. Even as the number of hands dealt fell, the amount raked in per player soared. How long can this model last before the well runs dry? Casino executives point to these results as proof of resilience. MGM Chief Executive Bill Hornbuckle insists, "We are as solid as a rock. I read headlines that Las Vegas is dead. Stop." But the numbers tell a more complicated story. Gaming revenue is up, but it is coming from a smaller, narrower slice of the customer base. Goldman Sachs flagged this concentration risk, warning that the Strip is becoming dangerously reliant on high-end play while the middle market slips away. Truist analysts cut earnings forecasts for major operators through 2027, citing shrinking foot traffic and a growing pricing backlash. Barry Jonas at Truist put it bluntly, "The messaging from casino bosses hasn't changed much from this point last year. Investors hear optimism, but the math is getting harder to ignore. The squeeze strategy is clear in the data. With fewer guests, casinos are extracting more from each one. The average visitor is spending more time at the tables, playing higher minimums and losing more per session, sometimes without even realizing it, thanks to subtle changes in game rules and payout structures. Baccarat, in particular, has become the engine of the Strip's profits, with Asian and international high rollers making up a disproportionate share of the action. Meanwhile, penny slots and lower limit games have faded into the background, their floors emptier than at any point since the pandemic. On paper, the Strip's headline numbers look strong, but underneath, the foundation is shifting. The city is squeezing its guests harder than ever, and for now, the strategy is paying off. But how sustainable is a business model that depends on fewer visitors losing more money each year? What happens if even a handful of those high rollers decide to stay away? The record hall masks a deeper vulnerability, a city betting everything on the willingness of a shrinking crowd to keep chasing luck, no matter the cost. MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment, the two giants of the Strip, entered 2025 with confident forecasts. But as the year wore on, their Las Vegas segments told a different story. MGM's Strip revenue fell 7% in the third quarter and 4% in the fourth, while Caesars reported a nearly 10% drop in its core Las Vegas business. Since their 2020 merger, Caesars stock has lost almost half its value. Wynn Resorts, with just 23% of its revenue tied to Las Vegas, weathered the storm far better. Its diversification insulated it from the Strip's pain. Truist and Macquarie analysts slashed earnings projections for MGM and Caesars through 2027, calling the Strip least desirable among gaming markets. If the city's biggest operators are struggling, what does that say about the future of the Strip's high-price, high-yield strategy? The story isn't all empty lobbies and falling room rates. Away from the Strip's glare, locals casinos like Red Rock and Boyd quietly posted record results in the final quarter of 2025. These properties, built for residents and value seekers, sidestepped the steep resort fees and viral pricing that drove tourists away. While the Strip's hotel metrics crumbled, the off-strip market saw steady play and strong slot volumes, especially in neighborhoods where loyalty programs kept regulars coming back. Convention business, too, provided a rare patch of stability. The Las Vegas Convention Center, fresh off a $600 million renovation, welcomed nearly 6 million attendees, matching the tally from 2024, even as leisure travel faltered. With major shows like Cone Expo projected to draw more than 1 million visitors next year, could the city's future rest with locals and conventioneers rather than high-rolling tourists? Executives keep pointing to the city's event calendar and the promise of a rebound. MGM's Bill Hornbuckle says he is as solid as a rock. He says he reads headlines claiming Las Vegas is dead, and he tells critics to stop. Boyd CEO Keith Smith echoes that there is no question visitation is down, but he says we tend to make more out of it than it is. Analysts like Barry Jonas at Truist warn that the optimism sounds the same as last year, while the fundamentals keep slipping. Projections for 2026 hinge on major events, Formula One, Con Expo, and the NCAA tournament. Yet forecasts call for only a modest uptick to 40 million visitors and gaming growth of just over 1%. Can a city built on spectacle and scale really afford to coast on hope and high rollers? Today, Las Vegas casinos post $8.8 billion in gaming revenue, yet 38.5 million visitors mark a 4-year low, and hotel occupancy, average daily room rates, and revenue per available room all plunge. If executives insist we are as solid as a rock, why are the numbers cracking beneath them? The risk is clear. You cannot keep squeezing fewer guests for more cash forever. So, where does the breaking point lie? Let me know what you think in the comments.